Hey there, Prepper Marine 81 here. This video is going to be going over what you're looking at here, these two items. These are little pocket or keychain survival kits that I put together. And I'm going to kind of show you how I put them together and what I used, and give you a couple of other ideas, some different stuff that you might be able to use for yours. I like having little things like this on me. I'll apologize in advance here. There's some traffic going by. It's kind of at that time of the day, so bear with me, folks. Now, what you're looking at, this one right here, this is the one that I use on my keychain. That's why it's got this little loop on it. And all I do basically is put all my keys on this carabiner here, and I just flip it in there like so. But I'll kind of show you tell you rather, I'm going to show you a couple things of what I've put all inside this. Now, the reason why I did this is I've seen a couple different, like, smaller, survival kits. People use, like, those little Altoid tins or stuff like that. And I know that there's some manufactured items that are specifically for things like that, like little sealable aluminum containers that have keychain loops on them and stuff like that. I don't remember offhand what website I saw it at. I'd have to look. If I can find it, I'll put it in annotations. But what these are is just something I kind of put together on my own. Had some different stuff laying around and whipped something together. Now this one right here, I don't know if you can kind of get a good idea of how big it is. It's not very large at all. And this thing, I'll tell you what, you can't tell obviously from looking at it on the camera, but this weighs nothing. I mean, it's feather light, so it's not something that's going to be dragging on your keys, or stick it in your pocket. You're not going to even notice this little thing is there. But I'll start with this one first and then show you the other one. This is the first one I made, and I've had it on my keychain for a while. That's why it kind of like looks a little dingy there. But what I did is I took... Now you can use anything that you want, anything that you can find that you think might be suitable. But what I did is I used... This is one of those like mechanical pencil lead refill containers, little plastic things. Now I used one of these that was empty. And what I did is I just cleaned it out, so I got all that little powder out of there. And what I put inside it was first thing is I took a book of matches and ripped off some of them, and then just cut off this little striker surface. So I just had this part in there. I didn't want this whole book actually to be inside there. It probably wouldn't even fit anyways, and I didn't want something big. So I just cut that off, ripped off a couple matches, and stuck them down inside the tube there. And then put the cap on, and I took the, like a white, or I'm sorry, not white, but a clear medical tape, and I sealed up the cap really well to make sure it would be waterproof. And there was like a small, like little hole at the bottom, and I sealed that off as well. And then just for shits and giggles, basically, so I could have some medical tape on this kit, I just wound some around the body of it, so that way I could have if I needed to use it for whatever purpose. And then also what I did is, so I had the fire making capability inside there, and then I also took, this wasn't actually the fishing line that I used like, this is the braided type, I don't know if you can see that, but I used the regular, I don't know what you would call it, kind of like a, it's not plastic, some sort of poly material probably, whatever they make the normal stuff out of, the normal fishing line. And I wound that around this as well. I put a fair amount on there, and then took just a general purpose fish hook and put that in, attached that to the body of this, and then wound some tape around that to kind of secure it in place. So that way I've got like a little, a small little basic fishing kit on there as well. And then took this, this is more like kind of, this is that medical tape that doesn't stick to anything except for itself. And it's kind of like fibrous, sort of like a rubberized fiber sort of material. And it's real flexible. And as you can see, I took that and I wrapped the exterior of the body around this, just to give it a little bit added protection to the items that I had on there, and make sure that they were well secured in place. And then I took a little hunk or hank of 550 cord and ran that down the body too. Now, granted, you probably can't really use this small of a piece of 550 cord for much, but it's what I wanted to use for the loop because I wanted something kind of sturdy that wouldn't come loose, or if it got yanked on, it wouldn't break. And just put that on there. So there you have that. I thought it was kind of a cool little idea. And like I said, this is something that even if I don't have my EDC bag, this is always on my keychain. So at least I've got some kind of capability there where, I can make fire, I can use it to catch fish, obviously. My sister's a nurse, and I asked her how well could you use the fish hook and that line to double as a suture kit. And she said, well, it wouldn't be ideal, obviously, but you could use it in an emergency situation to close a wound. So, I thought, well, that's cool, it's one extra thing that, you can use if it comes down to it. But, there you got that. And you see, it doesn't really take up too much room. It's relatively small. But there's that one. And then another one that I did, which I kind of like even better, is this. I took an old credit card and basically did the exact same thing as I did on this, but I just laid everything like totally flat on it. And I think the only other thing I put in here was you can kind of see that white part, that's a butterfly closure. So I put that in there as well, and then you can see that little tip of the fish hook where it comes out and around the other side of the card. And I did the exact same thing, ran some fishing line around there, some medical tape. I got the butterfly closure in there, the matches with the striker surface on there. And you could use wood if you wanted. I just want something that would be as flat as possible. And as you can see, that's pretty damn flat. I mean, it's not that much bigger than the actual card. And I just slipped that down inside my wallet, and I don't even know it's there. So a big thing is I'm a big fan of having redundancy. I like backups, and this doesn't, I don't even know that's there. It doesn't weigh anything. And again, it gives me a little bit added capability if I was in a real bad bind. This is something that might help me survive. So you got that. And with these two things, and the fact that the reason why I got this Becker Necker out here is this small fixed blade survival knife I've always got on me as well. So with having a small fixed blade and just these things right here, there's a whole lot that I can do. And you're very capable with just, one of these two items, these two items, you can survive pretty well out in the wilderness. Now, there's a lot of different options that you could do with this kind of a thing. Anything that you can think of that you would want to put into your little tiny pocket or keychain survival kit, you could do. Something else that you could do, depending on whatever kind of container that you use or you find, depending on its size and shape, you can do all kinds of different stuff. You could put like a little piece of char cloth in here, and that would be totally flat. That would give you a little bit of tinder to use with those matches. We've got the hooks and the line in there. You could put, like a blast match or something, one of those magnesium rod type fire starters. You could take just the rod. This might be a little bit too small for it, but if you had something that was like slightly bigger, I mean, this could work, but it'd make it a little bit too bulky in my opinion. You could take just that rod type and just secure the rod to whatever container you're using, and then if you had this on your keychain, you might be able to use, I've never tried it, but I'm assuming that you could use your key to strike that magnesium rod, or it's not magnesium, it's something else. But you could do something like that. You could put a small section of tinfoil wrapped around this. I've seen people do that. That's a good idea. You can make a little bowl out of that to sanitize water or whatever you need to use it for. You could put like a little button compass, attach that to this or something. I mean, there's endless amounts of things that you could do with this. But if you hadn't really thought about doing something like this, I highly recommend doing it because it doesn't take that long. It's kind of fun to play around with it, come up with your own little kit. And it really kind of gives you a little bit more peace of mind knowing that if you really don't have any of your gear, you don't got your EDC bag, nothing, you can't get to your vehicle, at least you've got this, and hopefully you've got something like that, or maybe even just like a pocket knife you're going to be 10 times better off if you've got just that little tiny piece of gear with you. You know, watch Bear Grylls, or hell, MacGyver even. If you got little pieces of equipment like this, it can save your ass. So there you go. I just thought I'd throw it out there, kind of an interesting thing to do if you got some spare time. If you got any questions, as always, feel free to leave them for me. I'll answer them for you. And as always, thanks for watching. Prepper Marine 81 out.